Welcome back to another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Today, I'm joined by a special guest. His name is Dylan Madden. Dylan, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's going on, brother? Great to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you too. Have a fellow podcaster, fellow content creator. You've been going pretty hard recently.
Yeah, like for the longest time, I was just focused on let's go back. In the beginning, I was focused on the whole online branding thing, and then a friend of mine, Ed Latimore, told me, he's like, "Listen, man, like I see what you're doing. It's awesome, but you need to really go hard on your freelancing thing. That'll take you to the next level." So all of the time I was guitar, that was like almost entirely what my mind was focused on. So I was focusing super deep on taking on clients, which I'm an email copywriter for any new people to this podcast. But I do email copywriting, also help with marketing behind the scenes on social media, and basically just focused on that for all of, what was this, like 2020, 2021. Now here we are in 2022. I've got a team and I can finally put proper energy into, I guess, my Dylan Madden brand, if you want to call it that. So yeah, man, I want to penetrate the podcasting world, penetrate YouTube, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I definitely got to give you some credit because in addition to in 2022 having a lot of output and productivity, I guess you actually have a relationship between My Latin Life, Dylan Madden, Calm and Collected, Jake Nomada as well, going back to like 2017. I actually had just dug up this old article. It was like My Latin Life and Jake Nomada, like the two realist guys you can trust. And it's like 2017, and
Yeah.
the backlinks and all that. From I thought that was very funny. So coming full circle, I mean, 5 years later, getting back in touch or consistent communication, actually, really.
Yeah, consistent. Yeah. Well, it's funny, and this is actually a story I haven't really been asked that much, but since you know Jake is actually the reason I even started thinking about email like copywriting. So to rewind back to 2019, I'd been doing a little bit of writing, so I was freelancing, but I didn't really see it any type of way. It was just a way to make money. So like I was writing articles for various supplement companies, other big time bloggers at the time, on top of writing my own articles, having niche websites. And I promised Jake, I was like, the next time you travel, because I kept like I would basically just bitch out at the end. I'd be, oh yeah, no, can't do it. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. Too much. I'm too busy. And I told him, I was like, the next time you go on some kind of trip, I will go with you. And he was like, okay, cool. So I've got your word. I was like, you've got my word. And then I don't know, like 7 months, 8 months went by, and then he hit me up. He's like, hey man, in the next like 4 months, I'm going to be traveling. Are you ready? I was like, yeah, let me get my passport. So I was one of the many Americans. Like, it shocks me now. Most Americans don't have a passport, like, because they just never leave America. So I didn't have a passport at the time. So I had to get a passport, got it literally the week before we were going to be going. And we went to Jamaica. He was trying to talk me into going to Haiti. I was like, no. That wasn't a part of the agreement. I said I would travel with you. I didn't say I would go to all these different places. So I skipped Haiti, but we met up in Jamaica. And I think he had a flight delay or something. But I think I was there for almost a full day by myself. First time I'd left America. And I was nervous. Like, I'll be honest. I'm like, no shame in admitting that I was a little nervous, like going around Jamaica, like literally the only white person outside of the hosts at the Airbnb, because we didn't want to do the whole like stay at a nice resort. We wanted to have like an actual experience. So we're in Montego Bay at a pretty nice Airbnb. They had an awesome dog named Cookie that would follow us everywhere. And a lot of funny stories happen in Jamaica. But to stay on point, basically, I at the time was still figuring out the whole online stuff. Like, I had some success, but it wasn't anything to where I could like live the type of lifestyle he was, which is traveling and all that type of stuff. And that basically what I'm living now. And I saw him typing up some emails. I was like, Jake, what are you doing? And he told me, oh, I just write emails for clients. And he broke down kind of the process. And I was like, you make that kind of money just writing emails? He's like, yeah, man. I mean, basically what you do already, I just do it for other people. And that planted the seed, which ended up, I met another guy, Frazzle Dazzle, much later in 2019. And got my second glance into like email copywriting and all of that. And I ended up getting an opportunity. And this is after I'd already left the States, because like about 6 months after I went to Jamaica, It was once I got back from Jamaica that I just fully focused on, like, I need to figure this out. I'm tired of just cleaning properties. Like, I would be at a parking lot at 3 a.m. picking up trash, be cleaning bathrooms, changing trash cans. I also did
Mhm.
Craigslist flipping on the side. I was like,
Mhm.
I want to travel. I want to make money online. I'm going to figure it out. And coincidentally, once I got back from Jamaica, as I literally, my brother pulled into the house, was getting out of the car. It's like, oh, you heard the Tates are in town, right? And I was like, no, they were here last week. And he was like, no, they're here right now. So I put my bag back in the car, told Christian, I was like, Christian, go pack your stuff. We're going to DC. And we drove 8 hours to DC. And I ended up meeting Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate. And that
Mhm.
opened up a whole different reality, or path, I should say. And 6 months later, moved to Romania, lived there for like 3.5 months. And then when we went to Dubai, I told him, I was like, I want to be able to travel. That's been my whole like goal this whole time. And I was planning to go to Asia. I wanted to go meet up with my girl in the country of Georgia. And then I was going to go back to Europe real quick. And then I was going to go to Asia for like however long I wanted. I wanted to go to Thailand, Bali, the Philippines, Indonesia, etc. And went back. I went from Dubai, went to Georgia, Georgia to Hungary. I was in Budapest. And that was when a certain thing happened that I'm not going to put out any keywords for the algorithm. But a certain thing happened. Asia was fully shut down. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I ended up moving to Qatar and lived there. My girl lived there also. And I lived
In
there for like
like
9
so you mean
months.
like in 2020?
Yeah, in 2020, like
Okay.
early 2020. Yeah.
To 2020 Qatar.
Yeah.
Sounds like a FIFA event.
Yeah, I lived there. I loved it. Like, I honestly loved Qatar. It was not a place you would want to go if you were more into it's the party lifestyle. Like, they definitely have it, but it's the culture's different. It's Islamic and all that. They're very strict, but it's definitely a place you could go for anybody that's watching this. Like, if you have even a minimum understanding of online business, social media, anything like that. Like, I would be telling people the Qataris, and the Qataris for anybody that doesn't understand. There's the expats, which is everybody that's not Qatari, and the Qataris are like the original tribe. So I had a bunch of Qatari friends, and if you live in Qatar, you want to be friends with the Qataris because you're at a whole different level. Like, they're basically untouchable. They get tons of money, all that type of stuff. They're the original tribe. And to make a long story short, I'd be telling them about like Twitter and how like, oh, here's how much money this one client of mine's making from this campaign. Oh, check out this the email campaign that I just wrote. Oh, here's this. And their mind is blown. And I met somebody that, because my girl used to have a like regular job at her company because she was a recruiter, they were paying this girl like $8,000 a month to manage an Instagram and manage a Twitter account. And I was just like, what? Like, that is insane. Because I looked at the results. The Instagram page is getting like 10 likes, 5 likes, like hardly anything. The Twitter is basically dead, but they have the money to spend. So they're, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Yep, now we've got a social media manager. So my plan back in the day, shoulda, coulda, woulda, before a certain thing was going to be required, if you get my drift, I was going to start a email agency there in Qatar that was also going to handle like email
Yeah,
campaigns. It's going to build up social media. But a
right.
friend of mine who
Middle East
worked for,
office.
yeah, Middle East office, because I could get an office there for like 500 US a month. And literally just, it would be like basically a studio like I've got now, but at 500 a month, I could get residency there. I could get a business there, zero income tax. I could do all these little loopholes to where it wouldn't be tied directly to me. Won't go too deeply into that, but I could basically have a company that wasn't directly tied to me, and has a lot of tax advantages. I'll just say that. And to make a long story short, the friend of mine who worked for the Royal Guard, so the like police, the military, whatever that
Mhm.
protects the royals, he told me I can't help you. I'll sort of let you know this is going to be happening, but a certain something is going to be required very soon. And it's like, oh man, should I wait this out? No, I'm not going to risk it. So I told my girls, like, quit your job and we're going to figure something out. And that before this, there's a purpose of telling you all this. I was one of those people that said I would never go to South America. Anybody that goes to South America just doesn't make sense. It's unsafe. It's bad. Blah, 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 blah. Never in my life did I think I was going to go to South America. But at the time, Brazil is one of the only semi-open places that my
Mhm.
girl could visit with her visa and also wasn't crazy with a certain something. And so we lived there for like 3 months, whatever. I ended up having to leave, had some issues that we won't go too deeply into, but basically I had to get the F out of there. And we went to Costa Rica and hated Costa Rica. But for all of you that have ever heard me say I don't like Costa Rica, I need to go back. I found out that the mountains and the beach is amazing. I was in, what is it, San Jose, whatever, their capital.
Hmm.
And that was trash. It was bad. So the
Hmm.
capital sucks. But outside of that, I've been told and shown pictures by people I respect. It's actually
Hmm.
quite good. Then I lived in Colombia for about 3 months, Mexico for about 5 or 6 months, and went back to the States for about 4 or 5 months to set up a company. That because now I'm actually a business owner. Now that I have an LLC, I'm actually a business owner.
Hmm.
And to make a long story short, moved to Paraguay, which is where I'm living now. But the reason I'm telling you all that, so many people buy in, especially Americans, and I could even say like people from Canada as well. So Americans and Canadians, we buy into this mentality that our country's the best, South America's bad, Asia's bad, this is bad. Go see it for yourself, because I ended up falling in love with South America. The weather's great. If depending on where you're at, it's quite safe. Like where I'm at right now in Paraguay, super safe. I could walk outside at like 2 in the morning, nothing would happen. Like I could find a dangerous area, but I would literally have to try to get there.
Hmm.
It's like a 30-minute drive from where I'm at. So the area I'm in, it's safe. The prices are cheap. I can go across the street and grab one of the best steaks in Asuncion, and it's high quality food, fresh food, the T-bone, whatever you want, whatever cut of meat you want, you can get. And so for all of you that are listening to this, I've been told we're in a recession. I know the gas prices are going up. I know that like prices at the grocery store are going up. Oh, everything's going up. So one of the best things you could do is pick a skill, start taking on 2 to 3 clients. You don't need dozens of clients. I would actually recommend not doing that. Find 2 or 3 clients, start building up with them, and move abroad. Move to South America. I
Yep.
haven't been to Asia, so I can't speak on that, but move to Asia, move to Eastern Europe, whatever, and make tons of money in USD, but leverage a weaker currency
Yep.
so that you can have an amazing lifestyle. Like I could probably get by on 3 grand a month here. I spend a little bit more than that just because I've got people that live here with me, all that type of stuff. So I end up spending more than I probably should. But like if I was just here on my own, I could probably spend 2 to 3 grand a month, and you could probably spend less than that. I'm sure. Like the apartment I've got right now is about 1,600 US a month. It's a really nice apartment, 2 bedroom, all that type of stuff. A friend of mine has a 1 bedroom. I think he's spending like 800 a month. So I
Hmm.
mean, you could even have cheaper than that. I'm sure. But South America specifically is great for you if you're single or if you have a girl. It doesn't matter, because you can leverage how much money you're making versus their currency. And as long as you're respectful, whatever. I mean, there's tons of expats here, tons of expats in every country that I've been. So you're not going to go there and be the only foreigner there. You're going to have tons of other foreigners around you
Hmm.
that you can connect with, network with, etc.
For sure, man. Yeah. Thanks for that overview.
Mm-hmm.
Man, so what's your favorite steakhouse in Asuncion?
La Cabrera, that's how you pronounce it.
La Cabrera.
Yeah, they've got really good salmon, chicken, basically any cut of steak you want. I know the owner, so I'm a little biased, but great guy. All in all, yeah, I'd say that's probably my favorite. I've been to some of the other steak restaurants, and I won't get too graphic, but it messes up my stomach. Every single one that I've been to, even some of the nice ones, messes up my stomach. But both the La Cabreras, they've got one at Shopping Del Sol, and they have another one close to where I live. And yeah, great food. And it's one of the most, I wish I could play it for you right here, but it's what, like, you feel like a dime whenever you go there. It's like they come out, they bring this bread, you get your food, they bring the drinks, they pour it for you, they bring
Hmm.
out this big thing full of like way more sauces than you could need. They're like, oh,
Hmm.
senor, and they start giving you all these sauces that they know you're not going to use. And then they bring out onions and they bring out these like root things. I don't know what they're called, but some kind of root. They bring out fruit, just tons of different stuff to go along with your food once it arrives. And the vibe, literally, you feel like a don whenever you go. So that's another reason I go there.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm looking at it now. 2,900 reviews on the one near Sky Tower in
Mhm.
like Santa Teresa.
Yeah.
Um, that's cool. I like I know I don't go to the best ones, but there's this one Aquarella that's been around for a long time.
I don't think I've been there yet. I'll
It's
have to
like
check
one of
that
those
out.
like churrascarias where it's like a set price and it's like a
Mhm.
buffet and you can go up and get whatever. And then they also are like, cutting
Wow.
meat left and right. Anything like Brazilian style is that's what's up, where it's like unlimited meat and they just like keep coming to your table and you're like, dude, I can't.
Actually, I went there the other. I think I went there last week. Actually, is that it's around like a bunch of other like bars and restaurants?
There's so many, man, in
Oh,
Asuncion.
okay.
I mean, I think it's just it's cool to actually explain for people who don't know the Paraguayan and Brazilian
Yeah.
style. Is basically it's like there's all these buffets and it's all you
Mhm.
can eat and it's so cheap. Like we're talking the equivalent of like 11 US dollars, maybe max, right?
Wow.
Like super low. And
Mhm.
it looks like a fancy steakhouse because it is, and it's just everyone kind of knows like Fogo do Chão or whatever that chain in the
Mhm.
States. So maybe a bit like that. And it'll be like 8, 9, 10, $11, all you can eat, all the perfect cuts of meat, like
Jeez.
picanha and all that stuff. And then like, they have like huge tables just lined with like desserts, ice cream, like
Mhm.
sides. There's all these like Brazilian sides like feijão and
Mhm.
all that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I'm sure, like you said, there's tons of them here, but I went to one like a week ago and I was actually blown away. Basically, they just keep bringing more and more and more meat out, right? Until you're like, no, no, I'm
Yeah.
good, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's like half your and Lawrence King's whole brand right now. It's just going going to Paraguay steakhouses, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Have you found one where they let you smoke a cigar like in like an outdoor area or something?
Well, the one that we go to, because Lawrence and I have that place on lock, like basically anywhere we go, we put it on lock. That's one of our rules. And the one that we
Mm,
have now, he doesn't really smoke cigars. I'm more of the cigar smoker, but yeah, they do allow us. We can sit inside, but it's kind of off to the side a little bit. It's not in the main restaurant. No problem at all. For anybody that's watching this, whenever you go to any other country, tip, and you can do it in your own country, but especially abroad, tip well. Like every time I go out, I bring 1 to 200,000 of their Guarani. I don't know what that is in US dollars to
mhm.
just give away as a tip. Just as I'm walking in the door, hey, amigo, what's going on? Tip. The guy comes, starts bringing the meat. Like as soon as because it's like positive reinforcement, like picanha. And it's like, of course, they'll bring out all this other stuff, but no, picanha. As soon as he does, gracias amigo, and I pass him the 100K, and so I'm positively reinforcing that he does whatever I want him to. So whenever you go abroad, you need to be that guy that, especially as you start making more and more money as a freelancer, where you tip well. Like the place right across the street that I go to, and I'm not going to tell my exact location, but the place I go to, every time I go there, I know the guy Carlos. He's my guy. As soon as I walk in, they try to get my name. It's like, amigo, come. And then he sits me down. He knows exactly what I want, and I tip him well. So every place that you go, I don't recommend being one of those people that like goes to this restaurant, and you just go all over the place. That can be kind of expensive. So what I recommend doing, especially in the beginning, this is what I was doing, and I was hardly making any money, is I would go out and find like 1 or 2 restaurants, and I would only go to those, and I would put those on lock. And you could maybe say it's vain or whatever, but I like walking into a place and I'm treated like a don. I love that. So, especially in South America, it gets, even if you're just nice to them, like you're not a dick about anything, you're, hey, amigo, and you fist bump them, even that is good enough. But I also recommend you tip. You don't have to do 100K, 200K like I do, maybe 20K, 50K, but like you want to have places on lock, like the haircut guy. I went to him one time, great energy, great, like everything. And so now I got his number. He comes to my place every 2 weeks to cut my hair, comes
Mm.
to where I live. So it's all about building up that network and building up those connections wherever you go. That's something I don't like about most expats is they just go there and it's all about living as cheaply as possible. And they talk crap about the locals. They look down on them. They do all that. And I don't like that. For me, I respect the locals. I know my position within society and all of that, but also I treat people well and I want to connect with people. I want to network with other people. Like example, right now I'm starting to network with people that work at various embassies around Asuncion because I was and I'm not going to name drop the country. It's a country I love, but it was one of the countries I lived for like 8 to 9 months. Just so you know what I'm talking about. I was literally at a cafe drinking my coffee, and some guy approached me and it's asking if something was halal. And I was like, wow, I've not heard that word in forever. I was like, no, it's chicken. It's chicken. It's fine. It's like, are you 100%? I was like, yeah, it's just chicken. No pork, nothing. It's good. It's like, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then as I was leaving the gym the following day, who did I see? I saw that guy and we started talking. It turned out to be the diplomat from a certain country. So now going out to coffee with him. And next I want to find some of the European countries as well. But I recommend for anybody that's watching this that you start reaching out to other people. You start networking with other expats in the area. You start networking with people that you can pick up your phone and text them and you can get a visa like that. It's that easy. It's just about you getting out of your comfort zone. Like, I'm not a super talkative person that likes going up to random people. That's out of my comfort zone, but I do it because I've been in issue or places where trying to get a visa for my girl and it turns into a month, 2 months, blah, 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 versus right now, I think this was like last week, texted somebody that I know that's not a diplomat, but works for an embassy, and they sped the process up. And it's literally like that. So you're actually giving yourself a huge advantage by being a foreigner, living abroad, especially in South America. If you're just respectful and you take care of the people that, like, you tip well, you network with other people, you're giving yourself a massive advantage, especially in a place like Paraguay, which is super small, like super, super small. But yeah, I'm not going to rant too much more.
No, I think that's a great lesson is I mean, every man should have a steakhouse locked down. But
Mhm.
really every person should have at least one restaurant locked down near them where they know they're going to get treated right.
Right.
And then it's also kind of like a life lesson where take that same restaurant mindset and think, you know what, maybe it's better to lock down, quote unquote, a few really good relationships than sort
Mhm.
of spreading yourself thin, going to
Right.
too many restaurants one time, so to speak, having like a bunch of acquaintance relationships. And you're actually like basically like a top tier networker when if you gave like the laundry list of like people that you've worked for, helped
Mhm.
out, done stuff for, that have like blue check marks, it's a lot. Like, you know how to
Yeah.
like provide value to people.
Yeah. And I mean, for anybody that's listening to this, do you feel like, oh, who am I? I don't have any value. Find anything. Like, whenever I was just getting started and I was still cleaning crap out of toilets and still changing trash bags and I was still like flipping things on Craigslist, trying to figure everything out. Even then, I would find ways to be of value to people. And over time, as you start building yourself into a person of value, it's like a momentum basically just takes over. But, like, example, I used to make graphics for people. I wasn't a graphic designer, but if I saw somebody that could have or use a better header on Twitter, I would make one. If I saw an Instagram post or got an idea, I would make one. I would write emails for people. I would do any little thing I could do to provide value to other people without the expectation of getting paid or doing anything like that. I just wanted to be in their world. So, like, that, for any of you that are listening to this, you're like, oh man, I don't have any value. I'm working a regular job. I don't have any skills. First, like, get that toxic thinking out of here. I don't want that around me. But secondly, find any little way you could be of value. Like, I have people now that and I'm not like super popular and all that, but now that my brand is growing, I've got people every single day hitting me up like, Dylan, is there anything I could do for you? Is there anything I could do for you? Can I make Instagram graphics for you? Can I do this? And the people that I actually give my time to are the people that don't ask, Dylan, is there anything I could do to help you? Oh, I'm a big supporter. It's the people that reach out and say, hey, Dylan, here's an Instagram graphic that I made for you. If you want to use it, feel free. If you want another one, let me know. It's on me. They're not asking like, oh, okay, think of anything I can help you with. They're very specific. They're like, Dylan, here's an Instagram graphic. Or, Dylan, I made a new header. You may want to use it. If not, that's fine. Here you go. Or, hey, Dylan, I made some YouTube thumbnails for you. Dylan, if you ever need somebody that could do XYZ, I'm your guy. That is much better than asking somebody, is there anything I can help you with? Because one, you're showing you don't have anything of value, but then two, why are you making me think about how you can help me? I don't even know who you are. I don't care about you. So if you want to build value with another person, it's about being very specific and coming out there and just doing the legwork for them. And then over time, as you start building up that rapport and you've offered value to them, they're going to start caring about you. And then before you know it, who knows? Maybe you'll get an opportunity. That's how I got some of my first opportunities, like with Victor Pride, boldanddetermined.com, no longer around. at least on the internet, but I just kept finding ways to be of value to him. At Latimore, I'm like mentioned in one of his books because, but by me networking with all these other people, he gave me the opportunity to do marketing for his book. And so he brought me on as like a kind of like the marketing behind the scenes guy, shouted me out in his book. Certovich, how I started working with him was I just started networking with people close to him, and I got the shot to manage one of his events back in, I think, 2017, 2018. And that opened up all these other events that I started managing for all these other people. So it's really about positioning yourself and putting yourself into those situations and opening the possibilities. Like for me, maybe I'm a little delusional, but I see myself as every action that I take is increasing the probability or the possibility that whatever I want to create is going to happen. So every time I tweet, every time I put out a YouTube video, every time I work with a client, whatever it is, like literally anything, even like now that I'm preparing for a fight in a month, I've been sparring every day with Blondie. And I don't know if you know him, but I've been sparring with him. We've been training. We've been doing all that. I'm creating possibilities that I'm going to be in the position I want to be in. And whenever you do that, it's a healthier point of view. It's not as like you don't get demotivated if today you don't achieve what it is. It's not about that. It's about at some point in time, like moving forward, I'm going to have this. All I've got to do now is create as many possibilities as possible. So, I mean, that's basically my secret to networking. And I'll toot my own horn. I do have some very good connections. And it started with me being somebody that had absolutely nothing of value outside of my time and my energy. And I would put myself out there and I wouldn't ask them, hey, is there anything I can help you with? It was, here's what I've done for you. If you want more, let me know. And I never, ever, ever had the expectation of getting paid or getting anything out of the situation. Like I do tend to be too much of a nice guy at times. Maybe that's why, but I use that as an advantage. I literally did not expect anything out of the situation. I would have worked for free for years without expecting anything. And over time, people start realizing, oh, this guy's actually genuine. He's not asking me for anything. He's done all this, provided all this value to me. How can I help this guy out? Oh, maybe it's referring him to a friend. Maybe it's hiring somebody. Like one of the guys that every sales page I have, he wrote was because he kept hitting me up, trying to see if I needed help making a sales page. And then he told me, he was like, Dylan, I know you're a busy guy. So instead of asking if there's a sales page I can help you with, I went ahead and rewrote one of your sales pages. Feel free to use it. If you would like me to, I can like copy paste it for you, edit it for you. And to make a long story short, used his sales page. My conversions went through the roof and I ended up paying him because I was like, Stu just wrote a whole sales page for me. He didn't ask for anything. And now any sales page that I do, he writes. Some of them I write, but 9 times out of 10, because he's really good, he writes them. I referred him to business partners of mine, friends of mine. And it's all started with him just being of value to me. So that's what all of you that are watching this need to be focused on is how can I be of value to the people that I look up to, that I aspire to be, maybe that you want to work with at some point. And without going too deep into freelancing, that's what I teach people whenever you're just getting started to get testimonials. You need to have proof of concept. You don't want to be the best email copywriter, but it's all in theory. You want to be good at what you do because you've actually done it and you can do it for yourself, but also you can get testimonials from people by offering to work for free, writing a couple of emails for free, writing some tweets for free, making graphics, editing videos for free, get a testimonial out of it. And now, boom, you've got a proof of concept and now you can start charging for your service. But yeah, I mean, that's really the secret right there, bro.
Yeah. Testimonials are huge, especially if it's someone that they know.
Yeah.
So you did a podcast with Zuby about a year ago, and you told he asked you actually what let me say this again. You were on Zuby's podcast, and Zuby asked you, what is your mission in life? And paraphrasing, but you said the first thing you said was that you want to inspire other people, friends and family, and that you want to be your own hero. Would you have the same response now? Has your outlook changed at all?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that's changed is like I have like fully retired my mom. Back then I was taking care of her, but I wasn't like to the point to where I could send her thousands every single month without having to worry about it. So all in all, I mean, I've achieved part of it, but it's definitely still a part of my my mission in life. Like I was one of those people. I had a father, so I'm not going to be one of those guys like, oh, I didn't have a dad. My dad was working all the time, so like I always aspired to be like my dad, as far as like successful, and he was traveling, he was doing this, doing that. And it's like at some point in my development, I started realizing like I need to be my own person. So like I wanted more than what my dad achieved. Like my dad was successful, but he was working within the corporate world. He got canned like out of loyalty, stayed with the company, got canned whenever his business partner that he had helped build the company with walked away like a bandit. I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, and then they cut all the top people. My dad was one of them. And so I didn't want to be that. So I was like obsessed with figuring out like online business and all that type of stuff. So I'd say a large part of my motivation is, or my mission is, I want people to see me as like, if Dylan can do it, I know I can do it. And it's not like belittling myself or anything. It's about like just making people believe in themselves. Because once you start believing in yourself, I mean, what can stop you? Nothing. That's the fact. Like I literally used to clean bathrooms. Now I'm living in a penthouse in Asuncion, take care of my girl. My mom's retired. I've got people that work for me full time. Like I've been sitting there having to decide between a gallon of water with bread and peanut butter and jelly, or not getting that and just getting ground beef. So literally hardly any money in my bank account. I've went negative multiple times. This is back in like, I don't know, 2016, 2017. I came back from Los Angeles after working with a certain blogger at the time, like $142 to my name and all this credit card debt from me paying off bills with the credit card. So I've been where a lot of you have been, and even worse than a lot of you have been. But now, because I've focused my mind and I focused on being of value, and I just believed in myself. In the beginning, it was definitely delusional. Like this guy that cleans crap out of bathrooms, who is he to think he's going to be able to make like thousands and thousands of dollars every month, travel the world and do all this? Who is that? Like, what makes him credible for that? I was delusional. But the difference between me and most people is I was delusional, but I backed it up by like obsessively working towards all these different things.
And it all came from the internet and you basically reaching out to people, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, without going too deep into it, because I could talk for an hour about it, this is back in the early days of Bold and Determined, and I randomly found his blog, and I read it, and I was like, oh, wow, this seems different. But I didn't really know what blogs were at the time. And then, I don't know, a couple months went by, and I typed in, because I was annoyed. I was like, I need to figure out how to make money online. This was like 2014 probably. And I typed in the no BS way to making money online, which is one of his top articles at the time, and clicked it, started reading. I was like, oh yeah, this is that guy I just read. And that was what fully put me into the whole online world. Like I'd always kind of been interested in business. Like I did eBay. I had a computer repair business. It wasn't a proper business, but I made money doing it. So it was a business. So I was always into that, but there's always something missing. And Bold and Determined was kind of what I guess turned on the light bulb as far as like, I can actually make money online and travel the world. And I didn't know what I was doing for most of that time, but I didn't give up. I finally got to a point, and I tell this to the people that are on my team, you have to see the reality that you want and refuse any other reality outside of the one you want. And so I reached a point where I was like, I'm going to make myself so miserable, so unhappy that I have no other chance but to get this other life. So I refused to go to college. I refused to go to like have any proper jobs or anything like that. I literally just cleaned bathrooms, did all that type of stuff, did the Craigslist. I didn't hate Craigslist, but I did not like cleaning, obviously. And I was like, if you're going to be damned to this existence forever until you figure this stuff out. And so I gave myself no other chance but to figure this out. And that's, I mean, basically what motivated me to get here.
Mm-hmm. And dude, like 100% respect to you, Dylan, for making it a priority to retire your mom and take care of your family, because a lot of people don't see it that way, where a lot of people don't see it that way in our society, where you should say, I don't know, maybe give half your money back to your parents that raised you and maybe paid for university or all that. Like people just like dip the house, maybe like a little Christmas present, and that's kind of it. Like, nah, like it frustrates me too. So I had a question. Do you have brothers?
Yeah, so I've got a half brother, half sister, and then the brother that I talk about all the time. He's not actually a brother, but him and I have known each other since I was like 12. He was 12 also, so we grew up together, and he is the
Mhm.
closest thing I have to an actual brother, for sure. I mean, I do have a brother and sister that I love. I was hanging out with them for a couple months whenever I was in America, but yeah, I mean, that's my. I would say I've got two brothers and a sister, but one of the brothers is just a really, really close friend.
Right. And then so
Yep.
it's kind of on you, like probably
Yep.
to take care of everybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely more independent as far as like they don't really want anything or whatever. So for me, that it comes down to just being a source of inspiration. They've definitely bought into the modern era. You could call it the modern virus of thinking with certain, like they almost are the complete opposite of how you and I would probably think. They're the complete opposite of that.
Mhm.
So they're not very open to it, but I'm also just a beacon of light, I hope, of
Right.
this is what my type of thinking gets. This is what your type of thinking
Right, right.
gets.
And I mean, like you
Yeah.
maybe don't go to them and say, "Hey, we're gonna retire mom together." Like you just do
Yeah.
it yourself. You just do it yourself and
So
just show them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we share the same dad. We don't share the same mom. So
Okay.
my mom is it's
Yeah,
completely my mom.
yeah. No, I respect it though.
Yeah.
I respect it. And
Mhm.
so what was I gonna say? I had it.
Well, I could talk about the whole mom thing. I mean, for me, growing up, I lived with my mom until she was like 8 years old, or until I was 8 years old, and I would see her, and I still remember this in my mind. I would see her not eating, like she would just fix me food, and then I would go off ha 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 and do my thing. And it wasn't until years later, because my mom almost died whenever I was 8, and like literally just I didn't see her for a year or so. And whenever I finally saw her again, she was like 200 pounds, like just way bigger. She used to be like almost like a model. And then when the next time I saw her, she's all blown up. My throat's kind of getting a ball just thinking about it, covered in bruises, all that type of stuff. And I was just like, who is this? And my dad got custody of me, but I would still visit my mom every 2 weeks and I would see her because as you get older, you start noticing, you gain more awareness. And I started realizing my mom's not eating so that I could eat. And I found out because I overheard her on the phone with her dad, like just asking for a little bit of money. To make a long story short, she would literally go all weekend without eating, but hardly anything. She would sometimes eat like Burger King, McDonald's, whatever, but she would go without eating just so whenever I came, we would actually have food to be able to eat. And I could eat good. I could eat whatever I wanted. And that really stuck out to me. And like whenever I was still figuring life out, I was a very angry child growing up. She was always supportive. She was always believed in me. You can do whatever you want, Dylan. I believe in you. Like you're a blessing from God. Blah blah blah. Like just all that type of positive reinforcement. And I went through some very dark times. Like I even went down the satanic path. Like literally, that was my religion for a little bit. And she didn't like it, obviously, but she would always read the Bible. She would always give me positivity. And even though I was really angry, hated the world and all that, she was always, every time I would see her, she was always very positive and believed in me. And even though I didn't have the best upbringing, like my dad was awesome, my stepmom, not so much. For her, it was mostly the psychological type of stuff, not really as physical, mostly psychological. So I would go through that and then I would come see my mom and she would believe in me. And so early on, whenever I started figuring out, like, okay, my mom was in poverty, my dad was like upper middle class. I obviously need to have money. Otherwise, I can't even live a regular life. So that's when I started like becoming obsessed with the idea of getting rich and being able to do whatever I wanted, not being limited by some stupid number on a screen. And that's I guess the seed that was planted as a child. And then once I actually started figuring life out a little bit and I got over the anger that I had, I was just like, I need to retire my mom. And I just started saying it. Like I think I was like 16, 17 years old. Now I'm going to retire you, mom. I'm going to retire you. I'm going to retire. I kept saying it, saying it, saying it. And then years later, I ended up actually doing it. And for me, it was more so a duty. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do it, but I mean, your parents took care of you. My dad would never accept money from me, but my mom, she's good. Like it, if the idea of her even having to worry about money annoys me to this day, because it's still pretty fresh. Like she had to take her dog to the vet. RIP to the dog. They had to put it down, but she had to put the dog down. It was like $300 or something, and she was all worried about it. I was like, "Mom, check your account." She was like, "What?" And I was like, oh no, you don't need to send that. It's fine. I'll figure. I was like, Mom, chill. Like, I don't want my own mother having to worry about money and all that type of stuff. Like, why
Hmm.
else? Why do I work so hard for my own mom
I know
to
you
have to
mean.
worry about money? Yeah, exactly.
I know what you mean, and people respond to it because every time
Mhm.
you tweet something like "retire my mom," like
Yeah,
people love it. People love it. They're like, "Hell yeah!" And
yeah.
I do think we need to be reminded of that sometimes. I'll switch topics though. So
Mhm.
you're from Louisiana, right?
No, South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Ah, okay. South. Okay, yeah, Charleston, right?
yeah. Charleston, South Carolina.
Got it. Got it. And you also spent some time in California.
Yeah, I lived with Victor Pride for about 3 months. We lived in Los Angeles in Marina Del Rey, and I was considering living there, but I ended up going back to Charleston. And I've visited there quite a like. I actually really like Los Angeles, and the issue that I have with it is all my friends that make way more money than I do. Like, they talk about how bad taxes are, and then whenever I go there, every time I go there, it's more and more homeless people, and it's not just like homeless people. Like, it's the type of homeless people like you're like, I might actually be stabbed in the next couple seconds. So I would never live there only because of that. But I actually really, really like Los Angeles, San Diego. I would love to live there, but I'm not with all the homeless people, the taxes, all that type of stuff. But yeah, I have lived in Los Angeles.
That's cool. I wanted to ask you a bit about your creative process with Twitter and like how you do it, like
Mhm.
how uh I don't know how much like into the bolts of it you want to go, but I
Yeah.
was just curious how you like it seems to me that there's no upper bound to the frequency. When I see like you and Lawrence King do it, it's like a tweet scheduled every 15 minutes like the whole
Yeah.
day, because you never know what the algorithm's gonna like show people, and as long as you have
Mhm.
something in the mix, like I guess it'll surface.
Yeah.
How do you like think about Twitter?
So I mean, there's definitely days because I pride myself in being one of the most consistent people around. That's like a badge that I wear on my shoulder. I'm very proud of it, and the reason is I know the importance of just showing up every day. Like, from the cleaning days to where I'm at now, I know that if I just show up today and get a little bit better, everything's going to continue going up at some point. Maybe I'll maintain for a little bit, but at some point it'll go up. So let's start with that. That's my mindset.
Hmm.
So there are days where I'm on fire, like everything. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna tweet this, I'm gonna tweet that, and I can sit down and tweet out like 10 times and like within a matter of minutes. So whenever you see the days where it's like every 15 minutes, those are the days I'm just feeling on fire, because you can sit there and tweet like tweet now, and then a couple minutes later tweet, and then a couple minutes later tweet, but you're probably not going to get as much juice out of those tweets. So like I do average, like I like to aim for about every 30 minutes to an hour, a tweet goes out, and I schedule most of them through Hype Fury. You can use any of them. I just prefer Hype Fury. I'm a little biased when it comes to that.
Hmm.
But I mean, my process is literally just like I should read more, because all of my friends that have even better tweets than they always tell me like, Dylan, what books are you reading? I'm like, not reading any books right now. You need to read a book. You need to rewrite what the author's telling you. And that might work for some people. For me, most of my tweets, they come from what I'm actually doing in the moment. So like if I'm
Hmm.
actively thinking about how to take on new clients, like because I've got a coaching program. So like I mean, my audience, actually, I could say my audience is my ghostwriter. Like anything they ask me, I turn that into tweets. So
Right.
just the other day, I had somebody asking me about, Dylan, what, like, why do you repurpose your content so much? So I made a video about it and I made some tweets about it. I had another student ask me about email copywriting. So I've put out tweets about email copywriting. I've had people ask me in the DMs about like what my process is with freelancing. So I turn that into content.
Do you,
So, I
you
mean,
think about
go
it
ahead.
kind of almost like a theme web or a word web, and you're kind of like, okay, like the theme is get 2 to 3 freelance clients. The theme
Mhm.
is move to South America. The theme is retire my mom. The theme is I was
Mhm.
talking to my girl. The
Yeah.
theme is, you know what I mean? And you kind of keep like I feel like when I see you guys do it, you just like weave these themes together like over and over
Mhm.
again in different ways, and
Yeah.
just like motivate people. You have other ones where it's like you don't need to drink 3 coffees, or you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
there's some other ones, but just like no one's gonna do the work for you. A whole lot of that, like a whole lot of different
Mhm.
ways of just saying like no one's gonna do the work. Like sit your
Yeah.
butt in a chair.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say I do. I mean, I don't sit there and I don't think about themes and all of that, but I definitely do stick to, like, for a lot of this, it's just what second nature, I guess would be the best word, because I've done it so much. But I will say in the beginning, like, to understand this and prosper and talking about freelancing, all that was definitely conscious. And I was doing it on purpose, because
There's a
if you're
lesson in that.
talking, yeah, really. I mean, if you're sitting there talking about all these random things, like, how is that going to be relatable? How are people going to know you as that certain person? Like, whenever I think of you, I think about like residencies and travel and all of that. And whether you've done that extremely intentionally, or maybe it's just happened. I don't know.
Fairly intentionally, yeah.
Exactly. So whenever people think about me, I want them. So you have to start with, what do you want people to perceive you as? For me, I want people, whenever they think of freelancing, to think of Dylan Madden. Whenever they think about email copywriting, for them to think of Dylan Madden. So whenever somebody sees understand this and prosper, wake up now, all that, they know that's Dylan Madden. So it comes, whenever you're creating content, you definitely should have themes. That way you start becoming the authority in those set areas or realms or whatever you're going to call it. So whether it's freelancing, crypto, whatever, you need to become the authority for that. So I recommend everybody. I think Ed Latimore's called it like pillars or something like that. But like, for me, I've got freelancing. I've got the girl, like my girl tweets. I've got the retire my mom tweets. I've got all of that.
Steak.
Like, exactly. So, like, example, if I were to tweet about getting coffee in the morning, I don't make my coffee. My girl makes my coffee. So I would talk about, instead of, yeah, I make myself a cup of coffee in the morning. Instead, I would say, I told my girl to make me a cup of coffee, or something like that. So, and that's a part of my personality. That's a part of my brand. And that was something I struggled with for a long time. I wasn't clear on who I was. So for the people that are listening, if you're not clear on who you are, just go out there and live. Like, I know you hate that answer, because I hated that answer. I was like, no, tell me who I am, what I need to be doing. And Victor Pride actually told me, he's like, you're going to speak your way to the answer, Dylan. I can't tell you what your purpose is. I can't tell you who you are. So you've got to go out there and just experience it. And then in time, as you start becoming more aware, and through that experience, you go, okay, this is my personality. This is my voice. This is the themes that I talk about. And in time, you'll figure it out. But most people just give up before that, and they don't have the consistency. So just focus on consistently posting the same types of content, and figure out what people respond best to, and then just do more of that.
Mm-hmm. And I guess for anyone listening, I mean, Dylan has a 20, 30,000 follower Twitter. He's got a YouTube channel with, a couple thousand followers. Like, every platform, you got your bases covered, basically.
Yeah.
On Twitter specifically, like, do you think of tweeting in like a sort of like a 16-hour day when people in our time zone in Europe are awake? Or do you have one scheduled at like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning as well? So, I mean, maybe there's less competition at that time.
Yeah, I mean, the internet is 24/7. Like, there's everybody's up at some point. Now, I will say the caveat to that is, yes, I do put most of my tweets, because I know that like probably 90%, if not more, of my audience is American. So like most of the times that I'm going to be tweeting are within the time frame that Americans will be up. However, I do schedule tweets randomly sometimes, like 3 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Eastern. So I definitely believe you should test it, and you should aim for being a 24/7 brand. So like every time zone gets hit every single day on any platform you're trying to take over. But you also need to figure out, like, who's your actual demographic. Like, I'm not sitting out here tweeting. I've got a lot of people that like me in India, but I'm not sitting out here tweeting to people in India specifically. I'm tweeting to people primarily American, but also Canadian, Western European, that type of stuff. And I know I've got quite a few Eastern Europeans and a growing South American audience, but most of my people are up in the Eastern time zone. All
right, I got you,
whatever.
bro. Here we go. Here's your 3 a.m. tweet. I was telling my girl, if I was Indian, I would get 3 clients at $3K a month.
Okay, let me tweet it out now.
You get the keyword. Well, by the way, what year was it that you went to Jamaica with Jake Nomada?
That would have been 2016. No, 2019.
2019. So you wrote the book Think and Go Hustle in 2017.
Yeah, I believe so. Man, time flies. So yeah, 2017, I must have wrote that. and I still need to get access to my Amazon account. It's pissing me off. I've been trying to get access for about a year now, and they won't let me have access. So all the money they're making, I guess they just keep, because I'm not getting any of it. So I've still got the digital copy up on Gumroad, but the
Mhm.
paperback, Amazon, I guess, just been taking all that profit. But yeah, I guess I did publish that back in 2017.
Nice. So you did spend a lot of time in the States, like continuing to work on your craft well in advance of making the move abroad. Like did you kind of feel like you had to hit a certain point?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was maybe lack of certainty. I could have pulled the trigger way sooner than I did. And for me, it was maybe lack of certainty in my ability to be able to make money, even though I had done it. Like, even back in by like 2018, I had $1,000 days, but it wasn't consistent enough for me to feel like, okay, I can actually go out and live abroad. Now, in hindsight, I would have told myself probably back in by 2017, 2018, bro, leave, move to Asia. Here's how you're going to make a couple grand a month. Just do this and work on your craft to do it out there. So in hindsight, that's what I would have told myself. But the reality is, yeah, for most of my, I guess, rise, a lot of it took place in the States. And so like
Mhm.
I lived out on a farm way out in the country, and it was like just full on muck mode. Like I even went 3 years. I don't think I've even said this publicly. I went like 2 or 3 years without dating, not having sex. All I focused on was my craft. All I focused on was building my body, all that. Cause I was like 285 pounds back in the day, cut that down to 170. So it was like all about getting in better shape, figuring out what I wanted out of life, figuring out how to make money, working on my writing ability, and just figuring life out. So I went for 2 or 3 years in muck mode. I guess they would call it that.
Monk mode, yeah. So what year was it that you met with the Tates in DC? Was it both brothers or just one?
Yeah, it was both brothers. That was back in 2019. So, like, literally the weekend or whatever that I got back from hanging out with Jake, literally got back from the airport, and my brother told me about the Tates being in DC. And once I figured out they're actually here, I literally put my bag back in the car, told him to go pack, and we immediately drove to DC that same day and got there late in the night, spent the night there. I met with the Tates early in the morning, had coffee, and we hit it off instantly. And then basically went to a party that night, met him the following morning, and that basically opened up a whole different portal to a path that I didn't perceive. And it got me like, not, I haven't really talked about this much, but I used to be one of those guys, and I can't stand these types of people now, but I used to be one of those guys that could not stand people that sold courses, hated it. And the reason I started selling courses was Andrew was asking me all these questions about what I did and flipping. He was like, okay, Dylan, so I mean, you want to make money online, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, why don't you teach people how to do flipping? He was like, let's say I was somebody had no skill, no money, could I flip and make money? I was like, yeah, easy. Here's what you need to do. And I sat down and broke the whole process down. He was like, great, turn that into a course. And I was like, nah. I mean, nobody would buy that. He was like, turn it into a course or stop talking to me. And I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll turn it to a course. And so I turned that into a course. And this is what I just I was on Twitter, but I was one of those accounts that would tweet, get like 1 like, 2 likes, and occasionally maybe 18 likes. And that was like a great day. And now that would just make me depressed. I'm like, okay, time for you to move on. But back in those days, that was like awesome. And I sold that course on my blog, to my email list, and to Twitter. And I made like $1,600 in a week selling my Craigslist course.
Wow.
And yeah, that's basically what I was like, okay, this course thing is actually real. And I realized it wasn't that I hated people that sold courses. It was that I hated people that they just tried to overhype their course and just be cringy and all that. So instead, I made it my mission. I'm going to put my best effort into like being genuine and being authentic and putting actual value out there, and then screw everybody else that doesn't want to do that. And so once I accepted that, then I was fine with it. But that was when I started making a little bit more money from my actual Dylan Madden brand. Because back in the day, like I had a Mel enhancement brand that like some videos and articles. I don't know if you remember the Kratom days, but back then it had an amazing affiliate program. It got shut down. But yeah, I mean, that was basically my introduction into a whole different level of reality for sure.
Hmm. And I do want to come back to courses and then also come back to Latin America at the end and talk about
Yeah.
Paraguay and how that came down. But
Hmm.
I thought maybe we could talk a little bit more about the Tate brothers a bit because I mean, it's a very popular topic right now. And I think
Yeah.
if people who search this or SEO this might be here in this interview just to hear about the Tates. And so
Oh yeah, for
maybe you
sure.
could, maybe you could like provide a little color on like, so you knew they were going to be in DC, but like, how did you actually get in touch to or arrange a meetup? What was sort of the
Mhm.
premise?
So I was like one of the first members in the war room, like the early war room. So I was a part of the organization that Andrew had. I think I was like one of the first 5 people to join. So I was already in, I guess, their orbit, and I was back like earlier when I was saying like find ways to be of value. I would find any little way I could be of value to Andrew. So I would like offer graphics. I would write blog posts. I would write all these different. I would do all these different things to provide value to him. And I even had like an affiliate Twitter account at the time. Like I was one of their first affiliates that actually made some good money, and like ran that account. It ended up getting taken out much later, but back in those days, I did that. So for me, like I thought that he was here the week before, so I thought I'd missed it. I was like, oh man, it sucks. Whatever. I'll at some point I'll go out to Europe, and then whenever I found out they were still there, that's when we actually drove there. So the way I arranged it basically was Twitter, like on Twitter, just DMing him, and essentially I was just like, hey Andrew, like I'm in the war room. Like you obviously know who I am, so I don't expect you to. I know you're busy. I don't expect you to take time to have coffee with me. But I'll be there in the next 8 hours. We're driving there right now. I'm going to be staying in this area. I'll come wherever you're at, even if it's just for a cup of coffee. And he saw me. He was like, hey, G, really busy. So he was meeting up with, what was his name? Paul Watson and Candace Owens, I think that's how you say her name. Meeting up with those people and a bunch of other political people. So he was like, I'm meeting up with them. I'll be really busy, but we'll see what we can do. I hit him up that next morning. I was like, hey, Andrew, here's where I'm staying. I'm going to be going to this cafe to work. I can be over to wherever you're at any time. Just let me know. And he's like, cool, G, I'll let you know in a bit. Went to a cafe, literally ordered the coffee. Christian ordered his coffee. We're back, like taking sips of the coffee. He's like, hey, G, I've got 30 minutes. Here's where I'm staying. And we got on the scooter, Lime scooter, rushed over to his hotel, stayed there. Met him, like I was sitting down in the lobby, just sitting there, like looking around. And then, sure enough, he just comes out of the shadows, boom, out of nowhere. And then it was just him and I, and my brother was there as well. And then Tristan ended up coming down a little bit later. And yeah, like I said, we hit it off, and that's how we got started.
So it was that hard to get in touch with them even back in 2017
Well,
or
that's the thing that
2019, sorry.
yeah, in 2019, that's the thing that people don't really understand. They think that they're just these like online influencers, and it's something I actually made me respect them more. Is they actually were rich and successful before they started selling anything online or doing any of that. So like they had multiple companies, they've got real estate, and I won't go too deep into what like they do, but even back then they were already millionaires. They were already flying around the world, meeting people, launching businesses, doing a bunch of stuff because they were in the advertising business as well.
Hmm.
And yes, I mean, so they were already super busy, already meeting people, already launching things. And yeah, now they're even more busy. Like I talk to them every day now, but like overall, super busy, especially now. But rewind back to 2019, and yeah, I mean, they still had their companies. They're definitely a lot more reachable back then for the average person because most of their online brands were still growing. So it was basically the real world businesses that kept them busy. Now it's while you still can get in contact with them, the best way is obviously through the war room. And outside of that, it's a little bit harder. So if I were to be trying to do it now, it would be way harder for me to get in contact with them unless I joined the war room, which, like I said, I was one of the early members. So, but yeah, super busy, bro.
That's pretty epic though. War Room membership number 5 or something.
Yeah.
So any War Room viewers, maybe they'd have questions about the early days, some of the history of it,
Oh yeah. Any
and
questions
what's
they
up with
have?
it now.
So, I mean, now it's definitely become, I can't really go into too much detail about it, but it's definitely become astronomically different than where it was before. Like before, it was kind of just like a small network, but now it's like a proper organization. Like we've got members in almost every country around the world. I can't go into certain details about things, but it's an actual network. Like imagine like an actual men's organization It's
Hmm.
not one of these just feel good organizations where you talk about softball and talk about your feelings and all this other stuff. It's very action oriented, and that's something I like. Because for me, I tend to stay a little bit more isolated, meaning I've got my team, I've got my friends, and for me, it's mainly about like work and all that type of stuff. So the war room for me personally, it helps me keep my edge. And no matter how successful I become, like even when I've hit $50,000 and actually a little bit higher than that in a month, if I didn't have the war room, I'd probably get like, wow, that's a lot of money. And it is a lot of money. I'm not saying that I'm super delusional. I know that's a lot of money. But for me, if I didn't have the war room, I would hit that and be like, okay, I can relax now and kind of chill. But compared to the war room, I've got people that, like other people in the war room, tons of them. They're making way more money than that. And if they only made that in a month, that would be like, oh my gosh, bills are coming in. Like what's happening? I made hundreds of thousands. Blah 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 blah. Why'd I only make 50,000 this month? So I
Hmm.
see those types of people, and it like keeps me constantly having that fire, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So for me
accountability.
personally, the war room, the accountability, and just aspiring for that next level. So no matter how far I get, there's always that next level of wow, Dylan, you could be doing your great job, but you could be doing so much more. And like every country I've been to, even including Qatar, I've met a member of the organization. So it's like we're literally everywhere. And it's
Hmm.
definitely an actual men's organization. It keeps you focused, it keeps you action oriented. And it's not one of those nonsense groups where, like I said, just talking about feelings and all this other type of stuff. It's about like, what are you doing to increase your income, to get in better shape, to have
Hmm.
better relationship with your girl, whatever it is, whatever your goals are, like what are you doing to actually get there? And so that's kind of what it's become now, is still that brotherhood, but it's also like an actual network of people that can get things done.
Have you heard of the Dynamite Circle? It's another organization of entrepreneurs.
No, never heard of it.
Okay, so the Dynamite Circle was kind of by the tropical MBA guys. Maybe you've heard of like DC BKK, DC
Mm-mm.
events, but anyway, so it's and a lot. It's really like a lot of the like internet marketers, like sort of people who'd be like running AdSense businesses and all that type of stuff, right?
Oh, okay.
Um, and I was kind of hoping to compare how they would like compare and contrast. I think War Room's definitely a little bit more, definitely seems a bit more like a space where you can get a little bit more personal.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, once again, I don't know the other people that you just mentioned, but you could definitely get more personal. You could share like where you're actually at because it's all about honesty and becoming who you truly are, not like what the world outside has told you that you are. Like becoming your true greater version, for lack of better words. But it also is very business oriented as well, which is obviously the side of me or the side of the organization I really like. But yeah, I mean, it's once again, I can't compare it to
Right.
this other
And,
group because
and
I don't
and can
know.
you use it sort of for networking opportunities, or is that maybe
Mhm.
frowned upon? Can you hit someone up and say, "Hey, I'm also in the War Room. Let's have a chat. Let's see where we
Mhm.
can collaborate." Things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like in the real world. Like if you're somebody that just comes and you try to extract as much value as you can without being or offering anything, like I was telling you earlier, the networking
Hmm.
stuff, like I had nothing of value to offer in the early days. And I knew that. And I was honest enough to accept that. So I found ways to offer value. And then in return, at some point, I started getting opportunities. I started getting shouted out in best-selling books. I started getting like refer business. I started event management stuff, all because I just found ways to be of value. So yeah, 100%. If you find ways to be of value, you can 100% actually start networking with other guys and leveraging that into greater success. But you have to come from a place of being genuine and authentic and actually offering value. So like if you were to just join and be like immediately start messaging people, hey, I've got this great idea, like, nah, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that you're still in touch with the Tates like all the time. Are you still
Mhm.
doing work for them?
Yeah, we still work on various projects together, and then like we've basically been working together since 2019. So we
Hmm.
still work on various projects. We talk almost on a day to day basis. I'll be hanging out with them here in the next month or so as well. So we'll definitely have to take some good pics.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, So I imagine you've sort of changed your business model like a lot of times. Do you have a core service that you offer to people now? Is it more email
Mhm.
marketing, or do you do something like? Could you just explain maybe your
Yeah.
breadth of services?
Yeah, so I mean, my bread and butter is still email copywriting, and I've kind of pivoted into just overall marketing. So, like whether it's on social media or email, but I don't really advertise that directly. Like if you know about it, it's because I've reached out to you directly, or maybe you've been referred. But for anybody that's actually watching this, if you want just an overall entrance guide into freelancing, I've got Freelancer Profit Manual. It's about 97 bucks. Or if you want to get into email copywriting, so I teach you how to write profitable emails, how to build an email list, and just give you the overall soft skills to be able to offer this to clients. I've got 100K per year email list mastery, and that's $35. And then recently, I partnered with Shane Hunter, who has worked with Ben Settle, worked with Frank Kern, a bunch of other big names that a lot of the guys that are listening to this probably understand if they're in the marketing space. And him and I put together something called the Freelancer Mogul, where you learn not only the email list side, so how to actually write emails, how to build up an email list, how to monetize your email list, but you also learn from me how to find clients on social media, what to say, what not to say. And you also get some other material from him related to email copywriting. So you basically get a skill, which is email copywriting, which is a high paying skill. You learn how to take on testimonials, so get testimonials. You learn, I'll say ethical, but it is kind of a sneaky but ethical way to get testimonials, monetize those testimonials, and also take on clients. And that's 600 bucks. So, and it comes to the private group. You get support from us. You get access to the other members that have been successful as well. So it's a little bit of a course, but also accountability as well. And I
Hmm.
mean, those are my main offers right now.
Hmm. How do you deal with people trying to poach your clients, because email marketing's so competitive and these people
Mhm.
are very good at DMing everyone all the time and
Yeah.
trying to create offers and all that.
Yeah, I mean, the way I deal with this, I just don't talk about the clients that I work with. Like early on, I would, and I would share that to my main Twitter, and I started getting like clients of mine reaching out, like, "Hey, man, this guy hit me up, and he's directly trying to compete with you. Like, what's up with that? Do you know this guy?" And I would check. Yeah, I don't know who that is. So I basically stopped showing my showcase, like, so all the results I got for clients with their names and all that type of stuff. So that's how I deal with this. I just don't really talk about it. I would love to, because it would make my credibility go through the roof. Like if people knew some of the people I work with, but at the same time, why am I putting myself out there and opening it up to possibly having something like that? Because
Hmm.
there's a lot of guys out there that would try to come on and take that relationship and be like, okay, if you're paying him this much, I'll work for this, blah 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 blah. And I'm not going to open myself to that. Another way I deal with that is with the clients that I work with. I'm not just their email guy. I become like an actual partner. So it's like
Hmm.
I'm not just an email guy for you. I'm an actual partner. I want to see you succeed. And I turn that client relationship into an actual friendship. So that's another way that I deal with it is I'm actually friends and partners with anybody that I work with. It's not just, oh yeah, you're my client. Yeah, whatever. They can call me
Right.
anytime
Because what
and
if they
I'll
don't
help them
have the
out.
right offers?
So, I mean, I personally, if I really see potential in somebody and they don't have a good offer, I'll still possibly work with them. But most of the people that I work with, I qualify them before we work together. So you have to have a good audience, meaning like people actually care about what you're saying. I have to see potential in you, and you also have to have some kind of offer. That way, I can take you on, and we can get you making even more money in the first like month, 2 months, 3 months, and that helps with retention and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I basically I qualify people before I start actually working with
Hmm.
them.
Audience, potential, and an offer.
Exactly. That's the name of the game. Like I don't want to work with a guy that doesn't have an email list. He doesn't have any offer. Like that's making me work even harder. On the other hand, if I find some guy that he's got, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 followers on Twitter, he already has one or two offers out there. He sends out an email every once in a while. Like, that is like a gold mine for me because I can come in and see what's actually already working and I can apply my systems and methods and all that and help them make even more money versus if I came in and the guy had no product, didn't even have an email list, he was just a Twitter account. I would have to put together an email list and then I'd have to put together an offer. And it just would make me going from signing them to getting them results take even longer. So for me personally, I don't work with people like that. For anybody that's watching this, however, I mean, that's potential right there. You could come in, you could find somebody, you could help them launch an offer, you could get a percentage of every sale that's generated, you can help build their email list. And who knows, that could turn into one of your best clients. But for me personally, I just don't work with those types of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And I'm not saying that this email marketing stuff is the service you provide for the Tates, but what's it been like working with the Tates? Are they very demanding? What's sort of the
Yeah.
pace?
Yeah, so the thing I love about working with Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, is like every day there's something like some kind of challenge we're overcoming. It's not like for most of the clients I work with, we talk, I don't know, every couple days, and it's basically, hey, uh, wrote this email. It's going to be going out at this time. You can take a look at it, let me know. Or for any of the people that I'm more of a consultant for, they'll hit me up and I'll look over their profile, send them a voice message, and that's basically done. With them though, because we work on like not from the email side, we work on other projects together every single day. Like, Dylan, what's the update on this? What's going on with this? Okay, that looks great. Let's keep doing that. Like every day, it's like a challenge, an adventure. So working for them, yeah, it's definitely demanding. And for the average person, you're probably not going to survive. I've seen people come in and they try to work with them. And if you don't have, and I'm not a fighter at all, like when it comes to like boxing, I'm not that at all. But if you don't have a fighter mentality and you don't have a strong will, and you're not one of those people, like I'm the type of guy, I'm the first one up, I'm the last one to go to bed every day, all day. I don't care what day it is. Like I'm still getting over the flu right now. That's why I keep coughing. But even though I was sick, I was still showing up and I was working. I don't care because I've got a bigger vision for what I'm trying to achieve. So working for them, it's helped me, like obviously on a personal level, because like I already was that guy, but I've refined it more. So they demand a lot, and it's helped me whenever people are working with me that I understand incentives, I understand how to incentivize people, I understand team building, team management,
Mhm.
and I can handle way more stress than what I used to think I could. Like back in the day, if one little thing went wrong, it would start stressing me. Now I could be working, like I could have everything, all these different things going on, and I don't crack under pressure because I've worked with them now for like 3 years on various projects. So yeah, he's definitely very demanding, but it's not in an asshole type of way. It's like if you want to work at my level, you have to be at my level or close to it. Like I expect 100% professional all the time. I don't care what's going on. I expect you to turn in results, and I've carried that mindset over into literally everything that I do. Like the podcast we're doing right now, I've got the
Mhm.
proper lighting. Even though I keep losing my voice, I'm maintaining my breathing so I don't sound like weird or anything. So like everything I do, I come from that state of mind. Like I'm going to be the best at what I'm doing. I'm going to be a professional. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely what I've learned from working with Andrew Tate.
So I imagine that their management style in person, like we can all imagine that it's quite demanding, but they're respectful about it.
He's one of the most genuine people I've met. Like I consider myself very genuine. He's very genuine. Like back whenever I was traveling and I just got started traveling, I was in Turkey at the time. And to make a long story short, my bank account got locked up, and I was basically just sitting there like, what do I do? And he sent his assistant from Romania to me and took care of everything. Gave me money, gave me a ticket, all that good stuff. And like that's the type of guy he is. Like if you're stuck there and you actually need him, he'll help you. Like he's one of the like most genuine people I've met. On the other hand, if you try to go against him, like there's quite a few people online that'll try to talk crap, you're going to get destroyed. And it's because he's so genuine. If you're going to sit there and try to go against him for no reason, you're just going to get destroyed. So from a management standpoint, yeah, he's definitely very demanding, but he's also, if you do well, you're going to be taken care of. Like you're going to like randomly get a bonus. I mean, I tweeted out earlier, I think last night, like people that work for me, one person that works for me, I got her a new MacBook because she's been working so hard. A guy that's working for me lives here in Paraguay.
That's
I sent him $850 as a bonus because he's been working hard. And I
Mhm.
learned that from working with Andrew because I would randomly get a bonus or he bought a car. I haven't told this story publicly, but he actually bought an AMG for me because I was going to be going back. And then I decided to start traveling around a little bit more. And that was just because it was a bonus. We've been working hard. We've been breaking records. We've been doing all that. He just bought a car. Like, who does that? Andrew does that. So, I mean, I've learned a lot as far as like team management, team building, etc. So demand a lot, but you can't just be this demanding like drill sergeant. You also have to understand incentives. So like any person that works for me, they don't look at me as a boss. That's more so just a leader. Like I'm not a guy that's like, okay, what's going on with this? What you haven't showed up for work? I don't care. You can work anytime you want as long as things are getting done and we're progressing. I'm happy. So the guy that works for me, like he sometimes will text me. He's like, "Sorry, bro, it's like it's 11 a.m. Just woke up." I'm like, "It's all good, man. Just let's get work done." Like I don't expect people to perform at my level of intensity like I do. I just don't expect it. As long as things are getting done and you throw in some good ideas. This is something else that I actually learned from Andrew. If I tell you to do something and you have an idea that actually makes more sense, let me know. If it makes more sense, let's do that. I'm not 100% stuck on it's got to be my way. Like I know the best. You don't know anything. It's not like that. If I tell you to do something and it makes sense, but then you find a way and you can explain why doing it this way is better, then I'll okay, great, do it. Let's knock it out. Let me know when it's finished. So, and I learned that from Andrew. He's very much when it comes to that, he wants to do what actually works. And yeah, I mean, and I think that's a great trait of a leader, a great trait of working for somebody as somebody that's open-minded and like they're strong-willed, so they're not going to be easygoing, but they're open enough to, if you can provide a valid reason why XYZ would be better done doing it this way, then okay, do it, man. I put that trust in you. I put that belief into you. And I think that's how you grow to the level that he's at. Like I can't get on TikTok. I can't get on Instagram. I can't get on YouTube. Family members of mine, same thing. Yeah, I've even seen people listening to his videos here in Paraguay. I cannot get on social media without seeing him. And that's not an accident. That was very intentional with the way he's created all of that. And it's because like people actually want to help him, actually want to, like he understands it. Like as he's winning, all of these other people are winning too. And I think as a leader, a freelancer, whatever it is you want to achieve, you have to get out of that state of mind of I have to win, everybody else has to lose, and find more ways. This goes back to the whole networking thing that we keep bringing up, finding a win-win for everything. So like if somebody, like why should somebody care about you? Like if you're DMing them wanting to work with you, why should they care? They don't know who you are. They probably get dozens of DMs a day like I do. So how can you make them care? You find ways that it's like a win-win situation. It's not just me. It's here's what I can do for you. And that's how you can actually get people interested in helping you. That's what I've done with networking. That's what I've done with the clients that I have. It's like win-win scenarios every day, all day. And it's less about me, like me win, they lose. Why? Like, I mean, sure, if they're an actual competitor, they don't want to help you, then by all means destroy them. But if they're like an ally, like an associate, example for this podcast, I'm going to do my best to put as many people onto this podcast as possible. That's going to benefit me, but it's also going to benefit you and also whoever else gets on this podcast in the future, because like you have a great podcast and I want to make sure as many people see it as possible. And so, yeah, having that win-win mentality is, I think, a key difference between winners and losers. The winner knows how to create a win-win. A loser, they are super greedy and selfish in all the wrong ways, because you can be selfish in a good way, but they're selfish, greedy in all the wrong ways. And it's all about me win, they lose. And that's why they're a loser.
What do you think motivates the Tates to go as hard as they're going? To keep going? Like when you have the supercars and the jets and all that. Obviously, I know what their response is from having watched the videos, but
Yeah.
from someone with more or what I would assume, but like I would love to hear from you. Like, what do you think it is that really intrinsically motivates them to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I talk to them every day. I lived with them for like 3.5 months. So, and I can't predict what they actually think in their head, but from what I saw, a lot of it had to do with like their dad from the day one was conditioning them to be winners. And I think that's why, like for me, like I would like to raise a family and I'm going to condition and brainwash my children to be as great as they can become. So their dad definitely had a influence on them as far as expecting themselves to be like professional, expecting themselves to like make the Tate name great. And I think that had a massive influence. But as far as keeping that fire, I think that's just they've conditioned themselves to be that way. I mean, they've got that fighter spirit. No matter like I wouldn't name drop any specific things. We did some projects together specifically while I was in Romania, and one of them it blew my mind. We did this was like my concept of money was skewed ever since living with them because I saw the type of money that can actually be made, and I was like, oh my god, I've been thinking so small. But for them, as soon as you hit like example, one day we made like 40K in a day from this project that we launched outside of Twitter. And we launched that, made 40K in a day. And he was like, okay, that's the new standard. And so for him, no matter how good he does, there's always, okay, that's the new standard. There's always more that you can do. And I very much put that into my own life as well. Like, no matter how much money I make, as soon as I make it, that becomes the new standard. Anything less than that's failure. So now I've got to live up to that expectation every day, and I've got to exceed that expectation. So now that he's bought the first Bugatti, he's bought a second Bugatti, and he's got all the other supercars. And I can't really go into all the details, but he's got multiple mansions around the world. And like once you get to that level, it's like, okay, this is the new normal. Now, what's next? Okay, done. Now, what's next? And no matter how great he gets, how much richer he gets, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, like right now he's super famous. Like you cannot go anywhere in Europe, or he can't go anywhere in Europe without people recognizing him, wanting pictures, doing all that. And he was famous whenever I was there, but now it's like proper famous. Like you go out and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah,
this
it's
is
getting
crazy.
mainstream.
Yeah. And so no matter how famous, no matter how rich he gets, it's not that it's not enough. I'm greedy. It's not that. It's okay. If I can do this once, why can't this be my just bare minimum every single day? So I think that's a very healthy mentality to have. Like, yes, there's some people that are completely happy making 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month. I'm not hating on them at all. However, because I used to be that guy, once you see reality for what it can be, you realize like, bro, like 15 grand, that's just getting by. Like compared to some, like friends of mine, I'm not quite at that level. Friends of mine will drop that on a dinner and they don't think anything of it. For me, the equivalent would probably be dropping like 2 grand on dinner. And I would go, oh, okay. But there are literally people out there, maybe some people that are watching this, they'll drop 15 grand, 20 grand on dinner. And it's just like, oh, okay, cool. And it's back to the regular life. So once you understand that, you find it within yourself, if you've got that strong will that, okay, if other people can do this, why can't I? Like if this guy can drive a nice car, if this guy can make millions of dollars, why can't I do it? I'm a good guy. I'm skilled. I care. I'm confident. I've got a family. I've got a girl, whatever. Why can't I do that? I want to be able to provide that type of lifestyle for the people around me. And then you have to back it up with the hunger. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then so how would you apply that to your own goals? Like how could you 10x from here? How could you 100x from here?
Yeah, so I mean, like example, last week I filmed 5 podcasts, and some of them will be dripped out. Others, I think I released the Ed Latimore one already. So I did like 5 podcasts last week, and I had the flu, but I also cracked a major sales goal. Me and Shane, we did this new launch for Freelancer Mogul, crushed it. We got a ton of people inside of the program, and for me, the way I apply that mentality is okay, that's the new standard. And so I'm constantly pushing myself every single day. And this is actually something I learned from working with him. By the way, do you hear my wheezing whenever I breathe in?
Yeah, well, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Because every time I breathe in, I hear a wheezing. But anyways, working with them, every fresh day that we started at 0. It didn't matter how much money we made the day previous. It didn't matter whatever we achieved. Today we start with 0. And so I apply that to my day-to-day life now. And that's, I mean, how anybody that's watching this, you can 10x your goals is once you've achieved something that you thought was impossible, that's your new standard. Anything less than that is failure. And today you start on 0. Don't get lazy because yesterday you crushed it. Yesterday you hit the gym. Yesterday you made a lot of money. Yesterday, whatever, you accomplished your goals. Great. Give yourself a pat on the back. But today is a brand new day. What are you going to do today? Yesterday doesn't matter. Tomorrow doesn't matter. Today is you're starting at 0. And that's applying that mentality. I learned that from Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate. Now I apply that to everything in my own life. And that's how I consistently have that fire and consistently grow and grow and grow. And that's how anybody that's watching this can do it as well.
Right. And so like for the Tates, they kind of found product market fit with having Hustlers University as sort of like their intro
Mhm.
tier, and then the War Room as sort of the high ticket tier, right? And one's
Right.
$500 a month, $600 a year maybe, and then the War Room's like 6K a year, maybe even more.
Yep.
And so but people don't realize that behind the scenes, uh they've had tons of product launches. They've had a million products over the year,
Mhm.
different courses,
Mhm.
different yeah, basically product courses. They've done lots of like video courses, maybe even ebooks. Maybe you could tell us like some of the products they've done in the past and like what's
Mhm.
worked, what hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, for him, he changed my perception of like pricing and all that. Like I very much fell into $35 for an ebook, $100 for a course, and then once I started like learning about him, like it was like thousands of dollars and a couple £100 for this video course. And taking your brand to that premium level, I don't think most people can do that. The reason he's able to charge the prices that he does is because of the massive social proof that he has. Like outside of the supercars, outside of the mansions, outside of the 4-time kickboxing world champion, like all those are definitely social proof, but also he's literally changed by this point thousands of people's lives. I've seen the testimonials. I'm one of those. Like he's changed my life for sure. And so you have all these people that you've actually changed their life, and it's not like, great, made my first dollar online. It's like, yo, I made $300,000 this month, or yo, I made this amount of money, or hey, I just bought this new supercar, I just did this. So it's like actual social proof. So from like talking about like all the different successes that he's had, I mean, from the get go, he's been just blown my mind. Like now it's normal. Back in the early days, it blew my mind. Just anything he touched seemed to be like turned to gold. And a lot of that comes down to the way he presents himself, which is definitely intentional, but it's his actual self. Secondly, he's got massive social proof. And thirdly, the amount of commitment and daily consistency that he has is insane. And obviously, the more successful you get, the more momentum you have behind you. And then you're going to get to where you literally have a Midas touch because your reputation, your social proof, and
Mhm.
then anything you touch, like you have so much positive momentum behind you, it just instantly goes through the roof. So to make it relatable, I guess, for anybody that's watching this, if you want to, and I'm not saying you can get to that level because it's completely different context for most people. Like I'm not even at his level of as far as like social proof. So I don't fit into this, but if you want to get kind of to that level to where you could be making lots of money every single day, like let's make it relatable. Let's say you want to make 5 grand a day. So you want to make 5 grand a day. The way you get to that is one, you need to have consistency and you have to break it down. You're not going to get to 5 grand a day like that. You first need to get to 5 grand a month. And once you break that down, you figure out, like, you do the math, or as Lawrence and I say, the maths. Once you do the math, you could break down, okay, if I want to make 5 grand this month, here's what I need to do. Here's this high ticket product. Here's this mid ticket product, this low ticket product. Here's how much of each I need to sell. Okay, I'm going to sell 2 or 3 of the high ticket. I'm going to do this, which actually, if you're at 5K, you could hit 5K with probably 1 or 3 high ticket sells. If obviously,
Mhm.
if you're selling a mid tier course, you're 150 to 100, 200 courses to hit that 5K, depending on the price point. But I mean, yeah, you have to break it down and simplify it as much as possible, and then focus on sales for sure. It's all about the sales, but you also need to focus on the customer experience. So, like, example for me, if you buy one of my courses, you have access to me on Telegram. I reply to emails for people that haven't even bought from me. I reply to DMs for people that haven't even bought from me. But like, I'm obsessed with having a great experience whenever you interact with me. I want it to be great because I actually want to help you. And so, from a branding perspective, if that's what you're focused on, is providing as much value as possible, even if it's DMing people that aren't even going to buy, but you just help them. And maybe this is a little too woo woo, but at some point, the universe is going to come back. God, whatever you're going to call it, it's going to bless you because they're like, you genuinely are trying to help people and you've got this momentum behind you. And then you start getting social proof. So you get people turning in. And this is something that you need to actually ask for.
Mhm.
Some people will actually just write a review for you. Like Ronaldo, I've got this video I've been playing quite a bit on Twitter. We took him, like, whenever he found me, had no skill. And then I got him into email copywriting. Then he took on a couple clients. then he got to 7 grand a month. And then he came back to me. He's like, Dylan, how can I scale this up? And I took him to a completely different level. And he did a video testimonial without me asking. But overall, especially in the beginning, you need to find ways to ask people for testimonials. So something I used to do is I would say, hey, since you went through Freelancer Profit Manual, if you would leave a rating, whatever you think it's worth, on Gumroad, I will give you a book for free. Or if you make a video testimonial, I will get on a group call with you and answer any question you have. And so you have to prompt people to get that level of social proof. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to have an actual business, and I won't go too deep into his specific numbers, but he's been very successful. And once again, it goes back to he actually was successful before he built a brand. So he already had an unfair advantage from the get-go. He was already rich. He already understood advertising. He already had multiple successful businesses. So it's not that he just came in and started selling courses and now he's rich. It definitely amplified him, but he actually took the time to build up the skill set. And that's kind of why it's so relatable. And Ed Latimore is like, Dylan, I see what you're doing with your blog. I see these niche websites, but you need to focus on building an actual skill. And I was like, okay, that makes so much sense. So, yeah, I mean, he's been very successful. I mean, obviously, HU is massively successful. That's kind of what helped make him a little bit more famous because everybody started talking about it. And it's actually only $50 a month. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm sure they're going to be increasing the price at some point, but it honestly blows my mind. And I don't get envious often, but it actually makes me kind of envious of some of the people in there because if I had access to that,
It's a lot of value.
Yeah, it's insane. Like they have entire courses. They get literally coaching level access from professors that are sitting there messaging them, doing calls with them, doing all that type of stuff for like $50 a month. And I actually am slightly envious of people that have access to that because if I had that back in 2016, 2014, I would be so much richer than I am now because I have course material, I have coaching, I can ask questions, I can work with other people. Like, it's insane. But yeah, I mean, overall, his business is very successful. I can't go into exact numbers, but
nor do I need. But I guess the
yeah.
point I was making was they actually just launch a lot of stuff, it seems, and even you as well. You're doing like you do try to probably launch like something new every 3 months, it seems.
So Freelancer Profit Manual, I think I actually sold for 2 years straight. And since then I've put out Rebirth, which is a mindset course. I don't really promote it because I wanted to get away from the mindset stuff. But from a client perspective, yeah, it's the reason that I go about doing that with clients is you want to test the market and see what works. And then once you figure out what works, stop focusing on everything else and just focus on building up that one course or that one program, whatever it is, as much as possible. Make it as valuable as possible. Because, like, yes, you do definitely want to be putting out a lot of courses and a lot of content and all that different type of stuff. But it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It increases the possibility and the probability that you're going to be a success. So let's say you launch
and then at the end of 2 years, you'll have 8 products.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's going to be passive income right there. Like the courses that you made are going to keep selling, but you're going to find the winners. And once you find the winners, then you double down. So like example for you, for the next 2 or 3 months, whatever, you could launch a couple products. And then by the end of this year, you're going to know which one actually is selling. And you're going to focus on that one product as far as marketing. And then you can turn the other products into bonuses or like whatever. And it's going to boost the main product that you're selling to your audience. And so, yeah, for anybody that's watching this, you definitely need to focus on quantity in the beginning, like put as much out as possible. But then you need to flip it and pivot to quality. So like everything that Andrew does, like it's high quality, premium recording. Obviously, it's valuable. But he's done that with many other products.
Over deliver, give them a free ebook or whatever type of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I had a question. So where do you think is the best place to host a community right now with the idea that, it'll be able to survive for the next couple of years? Because it's always changing. It was forums and it was Facebook. Now it's maybe Discord or Telegram or something else. Where's the best place to host a community?
So I would say Discord. I personally can't stand Discord outside of like, I enjoy getting on within HU and engaging with it. But as far as setting it up, I feel like it's a headache. So for ease of access, I would say Telegram is one of the best places to host a community because you can have a nice group chat. Like that's where all of my freelancer mogul people, all the people that I do one-on-one coaching with, group coaching, we're all on Telegram. And the reason for that is, one, it's super easy. Two, you can organize it into folders. And then three, you have direct contact with them. It's like texting them or voice messaging them every day. You can send content,
Right.
links, whatever it is you need to send.
Just
So
like
for
a
ease of
more
access,
built out
Telegram.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Interesting. So, and is that what you find that everyone around you is using, is mostly Telegram for their communities?
Yeah, most people. And like I said, because it's so easy for one, and two, it's so easy for other people to set it up. Like it depends on how massive you want to grow it. I'd say if you want to keep it under a couple hundred members, Telegram 100%. Outside of that, if you start getting higher than that, it definitely gets a little bit more chaotic, and there's solutions for that. But if you do plan to grow it to thousands of members, you'd probably look into Discord or something. Otherwise, Telegram is a great place. I mean, that's literally what I do. All of my coaching, all of any private groups attached to my products is all on Telegram. And I
Mhm,
just have it organized into different groups. So it's
mhm.
really easy to organize and manage. Yeah.
And what's the downside to Discord?
It's a little too techy for my taste. Like maybe you're really into that type of stuff, but you have to set up all these different settings and bots and all this other nonsense just to have it set up properly. I'm sure you could set it up with the basic format, but if you're going to do anything, do it right. So yeah, you're going to have all these bots and all these different settings and all that type of stuff. And I personally don't want to worry about that.
Got it. Got it. And we'll slowly start wrapping up. I wanted to ask you a little bit about Paraguay and how
Mm.
that came into the picture. Where did you kind of hear about the opportunities there? Who introduced you to that?
Yeah, so I was having dinner with Lawrence King in Playa, and we were hanging out there. Then we went to Mexico City. We went to Guadalajara, and he kept bringing up this Paraguay, Paraguay, Paraguay. And this is going to sound very American of me, but I just assumed it was like in Africa or something. I was like, why do you want to go to some country in Africa? He goes, oh, no, no, no. It's in South America. And he showed me on the map. And I was like, I've literally never heard of that country. So Lawrence is definitely the reason that I finally decided just to come here because he's a good friend of mine and all of that. But another motivation, I probably shouldn't be saying this publicly, a big motivation for me coming here is it is westernized, don't get me wrong, but it still has some NWO without saying any keywords. It doesn't really have that much influence here, or so it seems. So, like, example, whenever I came here, there you had to wear certain things, but like outside of that, it was basically normal. So for me, it's mostly trying to find a place that has good access to resources. I can get things done. They've got good natural, like they've got their own food production. Like I said, natural resources. It's cheap. It's safe. For the most part, yeah, if I went like 30 minutes this way, I could go to an area that I would probably be robbed, but why would I even go there? So where I'm at, I could basically walk anywhere for miles and miles and miles, and nothing's going to happen to me. So it's safe, it's cheap, it has literally everything I could possibly need. Like within a 10-minute walk, I have got two malls around me. We have plenty of restaurants. So for me, it's more so this is my home base. This is a place that I want to spend months and months and months of time at, but then I still want to travel abroad. I'm not too hopeful for Europe. I really like Europe, but I'm not quite hopeful with the way the world's going right now. I really like the Middle East, but also they're very influenced by certain organizations. You know what I'm saying. But South America, Paraguay specifically, I think is one of the last places that you can actually go and your money goes far. You can make things happen and protect yourself and also enjoy life.
Hmm. So personally, you think that Latin America is kind of better than Europe, given the current situation?
I mean, overall lifestyle, I like Europe more. But from where the world is going, I'd say right now, South America is one of the best places because
Yeah.
you can get certain things set up, residencies, etc. You can have a good lifestyle, whether you're single or like me, I've got my girl. Like both of those realities are great and it's cheap. I mean, I will say one issue that I have with South America is if things really, really hit the fan, and I'm talking about like food shortages and like power outages, all that type of stuff. South America has quite like
It'll
still
get
has
savage.
masculinity. Yeah, it'll get bad. It'll get really bad, especially for foreigners
Yeah.
and people that have money. Like in Sri Lanka right now, they're specifically targeting rich people. So in South America, like that is the only thing that actually does concern me if things really hit the fan. I don't think it's going to be a good place to be if you're a foreigner specifically.
I
So
thought
I've already
Europe would
taken,
be
yeah,
maybe Europe would be a bit better, but I'd really
yeah,
want to be in like Canada or something. I don't even know.
yeah,
No, that makes sense. Have you got into yerba mate? Start drinking that?
yeah. I've actually got it. Oh, it's over there. I drink it every day. I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't know if you can tell, but next to the owl, it's right here. I've got the cup, the guapa, whatever it's called, or the straw.
Wampa. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So
And the
I've gotten into
bombilla.
that. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I should have poured up some for the episode, but I have some here. Um, and if you don't mind me asking, like, where's your girl from?
She's from the Philippines, but she was living in Qatar whenever we actually met and all of that.
Hmm.
So yeah, she's from the Philippines. Like I said, I still haven't been to Asia. I still need to go.
And so you do have to, plan things with like visa constraints in mind.
Yeah, I mean, she's got some pretty powerful visa, like tourist visas already, so that helps a lot. The certain organization I'm a part of helps that, but yeah, it definitely is a little bit more. I can't just decide. I mean, I can, like, example, I'm going to be going to Europe in the next like couple weeks, so I'm just going to go. But overall, like, if I want to do a proper trip where her and I go, yeah, there's definitely more planning. I mean, that's why I went to Brazil. Is like with her citizenship or whatever, she could fly in there no problem. So yeah, her being from the Philippines definitely puts a few more constraints, but it's also an easy solution or an easy thing to fix if you have the right connections
All
and you
right.
can get the right visas and all of that.
And luckily, this is the My Latin Life podcast, and pretty much anyone can come to pretty much every country in Latin America,
Yeah,
no problem.
yeah, 100%. Even with her passport, she could basically go anywhere in South America,
Mhm.
which is another thing I started liking about South America as well.
So, what are your plans for the future in Paraguay? Because I know you've really
Mhm.
taken it to heart quite a bit. You put the flag in your Twitter profile. You got the
Yeah,
banner going on YouTube with the flag. You created an
yeah.
Instagram like Dylan Madden Paraguay Instagram, which I think is a pretty good idea. Where are you trying to take it?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to be well known here. There are too many straight up dorks that are famous here, and it annoys me. Like, there are people that I'm just like, why are you famous? And it's because they speak a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of Guarani, and Paraguayans just love them. So for me, I will become a well known person here. Like, I'm not always recognized, but I have been recognized by expats. But my goal is for basically Paraguayans to recognize me and all that. So the way I'm achieving that, and the Instagram account actually isn't mine. It was formed by somebody else in Paraguay that found me from my vlog. But I'm using my vlog, I'm using my personal Instagram and just talking more about Paraguay. And I want to show Paraguay in a better light. Like, there's
Hmm.
guys who are like, or oh, actually, this is Yerba Mate. I just spent $5 on this drink. And then there's thumbnails like that. I'm just like, come on, bro. Like, I want to show like an actual side of Paraguay. So we're going to be
Hmm.
going to nice hotels. We're going to be going to nice restaurants. The last vlog episode that I did, we went from Asuncion to Foz and went to the waterfalls. So yeah, I basically just want to have Paraguay in a better light, and then I also am going to become well known. My plan is to become like a house name, I guess you could say here. Like,
Really?
whenever I go out, people recognize me, and I'm doing certain things behind the scenes to increase that probability. So yeah, if you have any advice on that, let me know.
That's a very interesting topic, man. So what do you think? So it's almost like a Tate Romania playbook. Lock down
Yep.
the country, become a little
Yep.
celeb. What do you like? Why would you want to do that? Like, why would you want to become super popular in Paraguay? Because when I'm there, it's a
Mhm.
place where, like, I think the vibe is to keep a low profile, but at the
Yep.
same time, I'm 100% aware that they literally love the little gringo celebrities and the
Yeah.
YouTubers and stuff like that, and they support it more than any other country. Like, if you put some stuff up, you'll see all these comments like "Mi querido Paraguay" or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
they really support people in a way that
Yeah.
would not happen if you started making videos about Brazil or Bolivia, right? But
Mhm.
what, like, why, like, why would you want to become super popular? Because it is a trade off too.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason and I've already accepted those trade offs, like, the way I'm going to control that is I'm not going to position myself as a guy that has a lot of money. So, you're not going to see me driving around in really nice cars and, hey guys, here's where I live. I'm not going to be doing that. But I do want to be like well known enough to where I can basically make anything happen that I want here with the snap of my fingers. I can walk into a restaurant and people immediately start recognizing me, wanting pictures, all that type of stuff. And I've accepted that there's definitely trade-offs to that. And the way I'm going to kind of control that is I'm becoming way less flexy. So I'm not going to be walking around dressed up in super nice clothes, like Versace. I've got a Versace jacket. I don't wear that anymore. I'm not going to be driving around in a really nice car. I'm going to buy a Toyota SUV and all that type of stuff. Because, like you said, in Paraguay, people are very private. Like the very rich people that I know here, and I know like regular people as well, but like rich people, you would never know. Like, yeah, they have a driver. Yeah, they've got security, in the front gate of their house. But outside of that, you would never know that they're rich. And so, and I understand that's part of the culture. On the other hand, they love foreigners that are positive
Hmm.
about Paraguay. And I've
Hmm.
seen,
It's a paradox.
I'm not going to say certain names because I don't want to give power to them, but like I've seen certain people, and I'm just like,
Well,
how are
there's
certain
basically two
people?
guys. There's two guys.
Yeah,
There's El
yeah,
Chad and there's the other guy.
yeah, yeah. El Chad was the guy I wasn't going to say, but yeah, it's like
El
there's
Chad's
people like that.
I back El Chad for sure. I back El Chad.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know it personally. I've only heard through the grapevine, and like I don't have any personal beef with him outside of. I've just heard through the grapevine, and I've seen vloggers, I've seen people that visit Paraguay, and I basically want to become known as like everybody knows me from YouTube or Instagram, etc. And I'm going to put Paraguay into a positive light. I'm also going to show the right way to move around Paraguay, so you're not going to just be some loser coming through.
Mhm. I
Just
think we need the
yeah,
luxury angle. I think I agree with that because
yeah,
the other people have rolled through just sort of earlier in their development. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Whereas you're coming in at a higher level, and I
yeah.
think it'll be cool to basically show to the world, like, dude, it's not just drinking yerba mate on the curb. Like, we can go to steakhouses.
Yeah.
We can be in the front row of a soccer game for like no money.
Mm.
We can do like high end
Oh, that's
stuff,
actually a good
like
idea.
rent some yachts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I
Write that
mean?
down. Go to soccer game because I've got a friend that plays for the Paraguay whatever team, and
Y-
he keeps
Yeah.
trying to get me to go. And I'm like, oh no,
Well,
I'm good
you're
up
gonna have
here.
to choose
That'd
a
be a
team,
great
my
block.
friend. You're gonna have to choose a team. Are you gonna be
Oh really?
Olympia, or are you gonna be Cerro Porteño, or maybe there's like a
Oh,
number
I'll
three and
figure
four
out who
team as
he's
well?
from. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Olympia is black and white, and it's like the richer
Okay.
team. And then Cerro Porteño is red and blue, and it's more of like the club, like El Club del Pueblo. You know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
people's team. So those are kind of the top two. So
Okay.
once you start getting popular, they might start asking you who you back, and you'll need a story. So so I
Better
guess the
write that
game
down.
plan is to and for reference, what El Chad says is Guarani is the number 3 or 4 team, and their colors are black and
Ah.
yellow, and he's from Pittsburgh, so he's like, oh, I like the black and yellow.
Okay.
So maybe you could take a different team.
Okay.
um, but what was I gonna say? So what is the long-term plan with Paraguay? Because I know you're going to Europe for a little bit for the
Mhm.
summer.
Yeah.
You're the type of guy that also wants to, maybe be international, have a bunch of bases,
Mhm.
still
Yeah.
keep your finger on the pulse, in Qatar or Asia or whatever.
Yeah.
What's a bit of the long-term plan with Paraguay? How much time would you maybe want to be spending there per year?
So, I mean, long term, I see Paraguay being obviously a home base. Like, that's why I want to have it fully on lock. But as far as like my travel plans, how much I want to live here, I can see myself spending 5 to 6 months out of the year here in Paraguay, and then the rest of the year maybe coming back at some point later in the year. But otherwise, yeah, living in Europe a little bit, going and visiting some of my friends, guitar, chilling there, and then coming back to Paraguay. So all in all, like this is definitely my home base. Like I really like Paraguay, and if I could speak in Spanish, I would say I love Paraguay. So if you could do that, because I think you speak Spanish, right?
Yeah, you would just say amo Paraguay.
Mo Paraguay. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I see myself staying here 5, 6 months out of the year. Then after that, I start getting really bored. So I would probably spend a little bit of time maybe in Spain, Italy, somewhere like that. fly over to Qatar, and then come back to Paraguay.
Hmm.
Because I don't like staying in one place for a long time. And maybe that's because of my upbringing. Every 2 weeks, I was on the road,
Hmm.
going back and forth between my mom and dad. Maybe that's why, but I don't like staying in one place. It starts getting boring. So, like, 5 months is about my limit. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I
Hmm.
want to start traveling. I want to start traveling.
So what else would be on the to-do list to help like lock down a country? Like
Mhm.
what's the lock it down Dylan Madden playbook? Would you want
Yeah.
to maybe, know promoters that can get you like line bypass at the clubs? Is that important
Mhm.
to you to be out at night, or
Yeah.
is it more like do you want to know like political people and kind of have some ins with people that can get
Mhm.
things done for you? Do you want to like buy an apartment or like a big ass farm or something? I mean,
Yeah.
there's lots of different things that might be important to people. Maybe you just want to play in a pickup basketball league.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to what your goals are. Like, if you want to be more of a private person and be what I would call an untouchable, yeah, you would want to network with like high level people, like in clubs. Would
Yeah.
want to start getting within the political parties, all that. I'm not as crazy about that. Like,
But
I've got a really
you
really
want to
good.
meet like the rich young Paraguayan guys that are like,
Yeah,
30-year-old entrepreneur Paraguayan
yeah.
dudes who can kind of like show you around, get you into the inner circle there.
Yeah, I mean, I will go into my exact plan because I'm still in the middle of acting on it, and I'm one of those people. I don't like to like tell
Yeah,
people
yeah,
what
no, I
I'm in
feel
the
you.
middle
I
of
feel
doing.
you.
But yeah, I mean, I've already started networking with some very well-to-do expats here, some very well-to-do Paraguayans here. It's about like, yeah, first you have to identify what you want to accomplish, and for what I specifically want to accomplish, what I'm doing right now makes more sense. At some point, I want to start getting into the newspaper and start networking with media people. I haven't quite done that yet, but at some point, I will put energy into it.
Hmm.
And then, I mean, at the most basic level, you should be able to walk into a place. Like, I could walk into the steak place that I go to all the time, and if
Yeah.
Carlos is there, it doesn't matter if they're closed; he'll let me in. Like, I've had days, like I tweeted about it. I went to go into a place. Oh, sorry, we're closed. And one of my guys saw me, ran over, said, Senor Madden, come in, come in, come in. I went in, I sat down, and this was like, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours before they officially opened. By the time people were finally starting to come in, I was already finished eating. And I think every person should aim for that level of at least the most basic level connection. And the reason, the inspiration for that is Andrew Tate said, how, I can't remember word for word what he said because this was back in 2019, but how are you going to be in the same city and have to wait in a line? Like, you've lived there all of your life, but you have to wait in a line and you're treated like everybody else. And I really took that to heart. So for me, if I'm going to be investing money, investing energy, building up Paraguay, I expect I'm not going to have to sit and wait in a line. I'm not saying every time I go out, I have to be treated like a dime. I'm not like that. But like,
Hmm.
if I'm going to go to the restaurant that I tip very well at,
Yeah. I
I
totally
will
get
be
the
treated with
philosophy.
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
so
go ahead.
man, I keep losing it. Um what would your narrative be? What would your
Mhm.
narrative be when you would say go to the media, or how do you want to be portrayed overall? Is it just like successful American businessman, enjoys Paraguay type thing? Like how would you craft that narrative?
Yeah, so I haven't put enough energy into it, and I'd still need to figure that out. But overall, I would just want to be seen as like this. Who's this guy, this American that's traveled all over the world? Why is he living in Paraguay? And so that's something, the narrative I would want to convey. And to achieve that, I got some advice from somebody that knows the Chad guy that you know. And supposedly they recommended that I get like a Paraguay shirt, that I drink at like the traditional drinks that they drink. I learn a
Yeah.
little bit of Guarani. So that's part of the plan that I'm going to have is like a
Yeah,
very
I
pro
wouldn't be
Paraguay.
cheesy about it though. Like, don't do it if it's
Yeah.
not you. If you want to just
Yeah.
be, I think actually what would be funnier for them to see is just like, here's this guy in an Escalade, like pulling up to the steakhouse. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like with aviators on, because they haven't
Yeah.
seen that yet. They haven't seen that yet.
That is true. Let me write that down.
They've seen a couple. They've seen a bunch of guys be like, "Oh my god, this is cheaper. This is the bread that we eat." Like they've seen that a little bit, But I think if you're like, "Yo, this is actually like a man making moves," it'd be kind of interesting to see.
Okay, I'll have that. Yeah, so like an actual dime is what you're saying. So okay, I'll portray that to the media.
Yeah, there you go, man.
Yeah,
There you go. Dude, you've been super, super generous with your time. Definitely
yeah,
appreciate the
always.
chance to speak to you and catch up. And I'll put you in touch with OG Vance. I don't know if you know he's in Asuncion right now. Maybe you guys could
Okay,
catch
that'd
up
be
while
awesome.
you're still there. And I'll hopefully be down there later this year, and
Awesome.
maybe it'll kind of like line up. I might actually be doing something similar, a little Europe, and then like
Hmm.
from Portugal, take a flight to Brazil, and then like overland from
Okay.
Brazil to Paraguay. Might do something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm going to be in Europe for probably 2 months, 3 months. So I think by the time I'm back, you'll probably be here. So that'd be perfect. We'll
Yeah,
go
I
grab a
feel like that's
steak. We'll,
I think that's the
yeah.
cheapest way to get there. It from
Oh, really?
Europe to South America is
Hmm.
basically Lisbon to Sao Paulo or Lisbon to like Fortaleza. Like that
Okay.
TAP Airlines, TAP, like that's like I
Yeah.
feel like that's the cheapest way to get to South America. Like maybe sometimes to Lima or something, but
Yeah.
it really always seems to be the Portuguese route.
Yeah. I've been looking at flights, and a lot of it's Asuncion, Sao Paulo to. Now I'm going to
Yeah, because
Spain, so to
if you
Madrid.
try to fly like directly to Asuncion, it's so expensive and the transfers and whatever. So I
Yeah.
almost recommend just fly to Buenos Aires or Sao Paulo and then
Hmm.
just chill there for a couple of days, adjust
Yeah.
and then move on to Asuncion from like a cheaper local flight.
Okay.
I don't know, but you're a baller. You're a baller, so I don't know.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to flying, when I first got started, it was all about like the cheapest possible. For me now, it's like how fast can I get there? So
Right,
I hate layovers. I
right.
can't stand it. So for me, I think I saw a direct flight from here to Madrid. It was about $1,200, business class. So I mean that seems like a great price to me. Versus whenever I was looking at, I think here to Doha, which is the capital city of Qatar,
Hmm.
I think it was like 5 grand or something like that. So like for me, 5 grand versus 1,200. Obviously, 1,200 is more attractive. So yeah, I'd be a direct flight from here to Madrid would be a godsend for me. Like if I have to go to Sao Paulo, cool. But I prefer like get on plane, get off here, not get
There
go
used
here,
to be
here,
at
there.
Asuncion Madrid. There used to
Okay.
be. Yeah, and it was only like once a week. If you pull up one of those websites where you can literally see every flight that leaves from the Asuncion airport, sometimes
Mhm.
that's the way to do it because you'll
Okay.
like with especially with these smaller airlines, either it doesn't surface in a normal flight search engine
Mhm.
or it's like infrequent and you're just looking at the wrong days because
Ah.
that direct flight might only be twice a month, like
Mhm.
every other Monday. But if if you're looking for something more that on any random day might not show up because it's once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know what you use, but I use Skyscanner whenever I'm looking for
Yeah,
tickets. Okay.
that can work. There's ones that what's it called? It's just like it literally shows you all the connections airport to airport and they don't even show you prices yet. They just sort of show
Mhm.
you like where are the connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. But
Okay. Yeah.
that's a good one.
Okay. I'll definitely have to hit you up about that because even though I've traveled for the past 3 years, I've basically exclusively used Skyscanner. So, I mean, if there's something better than that, then I'll definitely switch.
Yeah. Well, it's more like you uncover the routes, and then
Ah,
once
okay.
you know the routes, then you can sort of like see like how to purchase that route somewhere else type of
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah. So it's like you just need to know where are the routes. So like there's a Miami flight too, but it's only like once a week or every other week. Eastern Airlines,
Yeah.
Asuncion, Miami. I don't know if they stopped it, but they had that for a while. But yeah, man. So
Mhm.
we can collaborate on Paraguay stuff in the future. That's
Yeah.
definitely going to be one of the focus countries for us because we like the territorial tax countries. We think those are the better places to post up. So,
Yeah.
in other words, people, if you're looking at Colombia, go to Panama because it's territorial. If you're looking at Brazil, go to Paraguay because it's territorial, or
Mhm.
things like that. If you know what I mean. If you're
Okay.
looking at Mexico, maybe go to Nicaragua or Panama instead because you want to be in these territorial tax places because then you can spend more than 6 months a year there and not
Mhm.
potentially incur any like risky tax behavior, right? And so
Yeah.
you can do kind of what your ethos is like lock down a place. Like, how can you
Yeah.
lock down Mexico or Colombia when you can't even spend more than 6 months a year there without being
Yeah.
taxed on your worldwide income. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
might as well become a Don in a place that's a territorial tax country. That's kind of like a philosophy that we have a bit, and I do want to start working on
Mhm.
some product launches.
Let's do it, bro. Let's partner together. I'll help you with any product launches you need, and you can help me behind the scenes creating this narrative and getting famous in Paraguay. So let's do it.
For sure, man. Yeah, definitely happy to collaborate in the future. Thanks for your time,
Yeah.
Mr. Dylan, Senor Dylan Madden.
I appreciate it, bro.